Some people are invisible, not because they cannot be seen but because no one chooses to look. They walk into a room and the air does not shift.
Hi,
They
good
sit in a
morning.
corner and the
Here's your
world
usual.
moves around them
Thank
like
you.
water
Smells
around a
wonderful.
stone. Harold was one of those people. On that rainy Tuesday afternoon, when he pushed open the door to my cafe and stepped inside, not a single person looked up. Not my staff. Not the customers at their usual seats. Just an old man coming in from the rain, and in a moment, the door swung shut behind him as if he had never arrived. No one saw him. No one, except me. I watched him make his way to the corner table. The one farthest from the window, farthest from the warmth, farthest from everything. He did not pick up a menu. He did not catch the eye of a server. He simply sat down, placed both hands flat on the table, and turned to look out at the rain. Nothing in front of him. No cup. No plate. Just an empty table and an old man sitting very still. Something about that stillness stopped me where I stood. I walked toward him. When I reached his table and he lifted his eyes to mine, he spoke before I could say a word. "I just came in to get out of the rain. I'll leave if I'm in the way." His voice was low and quiet. But underneath the words, I heard something else entirely. He was not asking permission to stay. He was bracing himself to be asked to go. He had already decided, before I opened my mouth, that he was not welcome here. That was the moment something inside me cracked open. I did not ask him to leave. I pulled out the chair across from him and sat down. And what followed changed my life in ways I never could have imagined. Because that man was not a stranger passing through. He was the reason my cafe existed at all. My name is Ellen Marsh. I have run Morning Rose Cafe for the past 8 years. On the corner of Clement Street in Mill Creek, Ohio. Brick walls, wooden shelves, mismatched chairs. Collected from estate sales and flea markets. On sunny mornings the tall windows fill the room with light. On rainy days, the whole place feels like the inside of a warm cup of tea. I came to this cafe the way most people come to the things that matter most. Not by planning, by falling. 8 years ago I had just lost my job at a marketing firm after 11 years. My position was eliminated in a round of budget cuts. 3 weeks later, the person I had been with for 6 years told me he thought we wanted different things. He was kind about it, which almost made it worse. I spent the next 2 months driving around, walking through neighborhoods I had never been to, sitting at diner counters with bad coffee, watching other people go about their days. One afternoon I found myself standing in front of this building. There was a sign in the window. Space for lease. I stood there for a long time looking at those 3 words. Then, without fully understanding why, I went inside and asked for the number to call. I had no experience running a cafe. No business plan. Just a small amount of savings and a very large amount of stubbornness. Slowly, Morning Rose found its footing. Regular customers came. Familiar faces appeared at the same tables each morning. I learned their orders before they gave them. But there was always something underneath it all. A quiet ache I could not name. When I was 12 years old, my father died of a heart attack. He was 51. It happened on a Wednesday morning while he was getting dressed for work. No warning. No chance to say anything. He was simply there one day and gone the next. After that, I noticed old men differently. When I saw them sitting alone in diners, in waiting rooms, in parks, I felt a pull somewhere deep in my chest. I had stopped trying to explain it. I did not know, that afternoon, why the sight of this particular old man stopped me the way it did. Maybe I do now. The day had already started badly before it got worse. I had been on the phone all morning with a supplier who had shorted our weekly delivery again. By noon I was running late. Driving to the cafe with the radio off, going over the numbers in my head. I pushed through the door just after 12:30. My hair damp from the walk through the rain. Megan was behind the counter. She glanced up when I came in, and something in her expression shifted, a slight tightening around the eyes. A quick tilt of her head toward the back corner. I followed her look and saw him. Corner table. Half in shadow even on bright days. He was wearing a khaki coat, old and worn at the cuffs. The kind that had once been good quality, and been kept long past the point when it should have been replaced. His hands rested on the table, still and flat. In front of him, nothing. I became aware, slowly, of other things. A pair of women near the door had shifted their chairs, so they were angled away from the corner. Megan had straightened behind the counter in the way she did when she was waiting to see what I would do about something. There was a particular discomfort in the room. The discomfort of people who have decided that something is someone else's problem, and are waiting for that someone else to handle it. I set my bag down. I walked across the cafe. Up close, he was older than I had first thought. His face was deeply lined, weathered not by illness, but by years of work and worry and time. His hair was white and neatly combed. Despite everything about him that was worn and faded, his posture was straight. He sat upright with a dignity that felt deliberate, like something he had chosen to hold on to. When I reached the edge of his table, he looked up. His eyes were dark brown, tired but alert, and in them I saw something I recognized without being able to name. The look of a person who has already calculated how this is going to go, and has made their peace with it. He spoke before I could. I just came in to get out of the rain. I'll leave if I'm in the way. His voice was calm, measured, even. But underneath the calm I could hear the shape of what he was not saying. He had rehearsed this line. He had prepared it the way you prepare for rejection, not hoping to be surprised. Just hoping to keep your dignity when the expected answer comes. I turned and walked back to the counter. "Megan," I said quietly. "Take him our coffee of the day and one of the cranberry scones." "On my tab. And don't make a thing of it." She nodded. I poured my own coffee and carried it back to the corner table. I pulled out the chair across from him and sat down. He looked at me. The wariness in his eyes shifted into something careful and wondering. Megan set the coffee and scone in front of him without a word and walked away. The old man looked at the cup for a long moment. Then he reached slowly into his coat pocket and pulled out a wallet, old. The leather cracked and colorless at the fold. He began to work out a few coins. I reached across and placed my hand lightly over his. "It's all right," I said. He stopped. He looked at my hand on his, and then up at my face. And for the first time, something in his expression let go just slightly, just enough. He put the coins back. He closed the wallet. He wrapped both hands around the coffee cup. And I noticed then that they were trembling, just a little. We sat together and did not speak. The rain moved against the windows. And I thought about my father, though I could not have said why. He finished his coffee slowly and ate the scone in careful, unhurried bites. When he was done, he sat for a while longer, hands still wrapped around the empty cup, as though it were still warm. Then he pushed back his chair and began to button his coat. I stood when he stood. I walked with him toward the door without planning to. He stopped just short of it and turned to look back at me. There was something in his face I had not seen before, a hesitation. The look of a man standing at the edge of something, deciding whether to step forward or back. He reached into his coat and took out a paper napkin, one of ours, from the dispenser on the table. He picked up the pen from the small cup on the counter. And he began to write. I watched him without speaking. He folded the napkin once and held it out to me. Then he turned, pushed open the door, and walked out into the rain. I stood at the window and watched him go. His coat grew dark with rain as he moved down the sidewalk and disappeared. I carried the napkin in my pocket. Through the rest of the day without opening it. Something kept me from it, not reluctance. Exactly, but a feeling I could not name. A sense that what was inside it was not something to be read in a hurry. That night, after the last light in the cafe had been switched off, I sat at the corner table with a cup of tea and unfolded the napkin. There was an address. A street I did not know, in a town about 20 minutes from Mill Creek. And below it, one line. When this building was first built, I started my dream here. I read those words 3 times. My hands had gone very still. This building, the one I had signed a lease on 8 years ago. Because I was lost and needed something to hold on to. I sat in the quiet dark for a long time. I did not sleep that night. The story continues in part 2. If you'd like to stay with us for the rest of Ellen's journey, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Thank you for listening.